Hello everyone, this is Lindsay Jones and this is my showcase assignment number 3, Technology for Enhancement for Educational Technology. So a reminder of the lesson plan that I've selected. The objective is to recognize similar attributes between 2D and 3D shapes, and the big idea is that real-world examples help make these attributes of shapes less abstract. This lesson is for a 3rd grade class. So I just want to go over some of the learning outcomes and goals that we are trying to achieve using Schoology. I will use Schoology to deliver content in an online environment to enhance and extend my lesson using a self-paced module. I will create materials to support struggling learners and extend material for advanced students, and I'll provide multiple resources of information to appeal to all types of learning styles. So as I just mentioned, the tool that I'm going to use for Showcase 3 is Schoology. Schoology brings together the best K-12 learning management system with assessment management to improve students' performance, foster collaboration, and personalized learning. So creating a Schoology account was super easy. It's not something that I have used before, but it's something that I have seen be used before. So it is free to sign up. Of course, you can upgrade your account, but really you can do a lot without having to do an upgrade. So I just created a profile, and then as you can see, you can create multiple courses and groups. You can also search for resources. There's places for materials, updates, there's a grade book and setting up your grades. There's badges you can reward to students, ways to keep track of attendance, and then ways to manage the members. And then once you are in the selected course, you can add assignments, add tests and quizzes, add files, add a discussion board, add media, all kinds of stuff. So one other thing I did want to point out is that you are provided with an access code. So that is how you would add members or students to your group. They would get your access code for that class and they would be able to join the class. So one thing I wanted to show you kind of a closer look at was creating assignments. So obviously you're going to name the assignment, but then you can leave instructions or description. You're going to choose your due date and the number of points that it's worth. You can choose categories, so if it's a homework, a test, a quiz, stuff like that. And then the thing that I thought was really cool was that you can actually look up learning objectives so that the students know what they're learning and exactly what learning objective that content is covering. I thought that was really cool because it gives students an idea of why they're learning what they're learning. Another thing I wanted to take a closer look at is creating tests and quizzes. So the quiz that I created was 2D and 3D shapes. You can do multiple choice, you can do ordering, short answer, an essay, fill in the blank, matching, all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, this is kind of just what it looks like when you're creating your quiz. So it's pretty similar to some of the other stuff I've used, but it's pretty cool that you can create the quiz right inside of your self-paced module instead of having to create the quiz on another website and then inserting it into the module. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a demo of the Schoology course that I created for the 3rd grade math class. Okay, so this is my profile. I'm going to go ahead up here to courses and I'm going to select the 3rd grade course. So if you're a teacher who's teaching multiple courses, you can use the same Schoology account to teach all of those courses. So I've already added a lot of materials into this course and I just want to kind of show you some of the stuff that I've added. So I have created 4 assignments. I did that by just going to the add materials and then add assignment. And these assignments are for different levels of learners. So as you can see, they're labeled beginners, intermediate, and then advanced. So that is how I'm kind of doing some of the scaffolding with my students and helping them learn at their own pace. So the kids that are comfortable with these topics already can move on to the more advanced topics. But then I also have one worksheet that is for everybody, and that is comparing the 3D shapes to real-life objects. So although the class is doing some of the same work, they also have individual work that they can choose to work on depending on where they think that they're at. So I just want to show you some of that stuff. So if you click on the beginner's worksheets, it will tell them to go ahead and complete the worksheet and submit it. And the beginners are just focusing on 2D shapes because you definitely have to understand those 2D shapes before you can move on to 3D shapes. And then if we go back here, the intermediate group is working on matching 3D shapes, so not necessarily the attributes yet, but just recognizing which 3D shapes are which. And then the advanced class is more focused on attributes of shapes, so faces, edges, vertices. And then what I really liked about this worksheet here is that they can circle if this activity was easy, just right, or hard. I think that would actually be pretty useful to put on most of the worksheets so that the teacher can gauge where the student's understanding is and build on the curriculum from there. And that might also help the teacher place the kids in the beginner, intermediate, or advanced group when they assign future assignments. So some of the other stuff that I've added on here. As you can see, there's just so many different things to add. One of the things that I did add was a discussion board. So this discussion board is just for questions. So I've just written, please ask any questions or let me know what you're struggling with. So this is just a form of open communication so that students can talk to their teachers, but not only their teacher, but their peers if they're struggling with something, possibly use some cooperative learning skills to help each other out, but definitely let the teacher know if they're struggling so the teacher can provide alternative material or focus on that student a little bit more. And then one of the other things that I've added is some reference sheets. So this is for people who are visual learners or maybe just need a little additional help with their worksheets. So for the students that are still getting familiar with 3D shapes, they can reference this in order to kind of help them complete their homework. So I did the same thing with the 2D shapes as well, but that also has some attributes on it to help the students with those concepts. So the next thing that I added is a YouTube video. So this is for the students who maybe need a different approach to learning, maybe the students who don't do well with just memorization, but maybe that take well to audio or visuals. So this is actually just a video that I uploaded about 3D shapes. So it's a song to kind of help them memorize the shapes and their attributes, which is pretty cool. And then the very last thing that I have on here right now is a quiz. So this is created to gauge the student's understanding of the topic so that I can better understand where they're at with the material and decide which kids need to be helped a little bit more and which kids maybe need some more advanced work. So this definitely helps with me deciding how to do the scaffolding learning with the class. So as you can see, since I'm on the teacher account, this is just creating a quiz. It would look different if it was on the student account, but you can continue to add questions and look at results and stuff like that. Nobody's taken it yet, but you could find results here. So that is pretty much all I've done so far with adding materials for the students, although like the options are endless. You can add updates, so just to tell your class things. So I said, please be ready to talk about vertices on Friday. So just preparing the kids for the next class or reminding them about a homework assignment that's due. So I thought that was a pretty cool way to communicate with your class. And what's cool about Schoology is parents can access this too, so they can help their students stay on track and they can be aware of where you're at in this semester. So another cool thing that we have on here is the gradebook. So this allows teachers to keep track of grades of each individual student, which is probably a lot easier than trying to keep track of a grade book. You can also set up how you want things to be graded, like the grading scale that you want to use and how they're calculated and the final weights, stuff like that. Another really cool thing on here is badges. So you can award kids badges for stuff that they have done, which is really cool as far as motivation and encouraging them to continue building on their knowledge. You can also keep a track of student attendance and the number of members in the group. So there's like all kinds of stuff on Schoology. You can search for resources. So this is my resources right now, but if you go to search, you can search for topics and you can find stuff that you can add to your learning module for your kids, stuff that's already been created. So that's a pretty cool resource. That way you can find other means of media and stuff like that to help your kids out. Okay, so now I'd just like to go over some of the benefits of using Schoology to enhance a lesson like this. Scaffolding is definitely a main factor in that. Scaffolding is a support for learning and problem solving, which might include clues, reminders, encouragement, and break the problem down into steps, providing an example or anything else that allows students to grow as independent learners. So it develops a more sophisticated understanding of the content using high-order thinking skills. The assignments for Schoology course are assigned at 3 levels. So the beginners are focusing on 2D shapes, the intermediate students are focusing on 3D shapes, and the advanced students are focusing on the attributes of shapes. And then the class as a whole is going to focus on applying the 3D shapes to real-life objects. So this supports scaffolding because I am recognizing where students are at and trying to grow them as learners by giving them different stepping stones, places to start, and then goals to be by the end of class. So they might need to start at the beginner's worksheet, but the goal would be for them to end at the advanced worksheet. And providing examples definitely helps them, as well as like the videos and stuff like that, so that they can accomplish these goals and complete these worksheets on their own. So visualization is definitely part of enhancing a lesson. It takes difficult to understand concepts and allows students to visualize them in order to create ways to make it easier to understand the concepts. So I incorporated the 2D and 3D reference charts for visual learners, as well as provided the YouTube link about the 3D shapes for students who best learn with visuals and audio. Making connections and using higher cognitive skills is also involved in enhancing a lesson. This is when students are able to relate concepts and apply their understanding to the world. The entire class was assigned the same worksheet to compare the real-life objects to a 3D shape. And this worksheet shows students that the shapes they're learning are going to be applied to real-life situations and are important to comprehend for use outside of the classroom. So that really makes those connections to the real world with the content that they're learning. And then the students are using higher cognitive skills because their understanding of 3D shapes takes their cognitive skills to a higher level by applying their knowledge to real life objects. So Schoology does allow students to demonstrate their understanding. It creates paths for students to demonstrate their understanding of the learning goals in a way that they could not do with traditional tools. So it allows students to ask questions and express their level of understanding through discussion boards. They could communicate with their teachers and their peers. And it also allows students to take quizzes or tests with images to aid understanding and give students automatic feedback on assessments. This lets students know how they are doing as well as the teacher. This data is gathered a lot quicker and easier with Schoology than it would be without this educational tool. So traditional tools would definitely take a lot more organization and time to create these results. Schoology is definitely a self-paced module to support learning. Students get to work at their own pace. If they're not ready for an advanced worksheet yet, then they can start with the beginner's worksheet. If they need visual aids or audio to learn, if they're not good at memorization, then that's fine. They can use the YouTube video to see and hear the material from a different perspective. Students can also express concerns and ask questions. Their teachers and peers are ready to help in the discussion board. So it is used to take the pressure off students so they can focus on learning material at their own pace and at their own level of understanding. Schoology does create a source of data and feedback. So you can use the gradebook tab and the grade setup tabs to keep track of students' individual grades and choose the grading skills and final weights. Schoology creates so much support for all of the UDL principals. I'm pretty sure that each principal is supported in some way with this enhancement, but these are some of the ones that I wanted to focus on. So guideline 1 of perception, which offers alternative display of information. So the alternative displays in this lesson would be like the YouTube videos, because that gives them audios and visuals, which they wouldn't get with traditional tools. Guideline 3 is comprehension, which guides information processing, supports the process of meaning making through modules, scaffolds, and feedback, applies learning to new contexts, builds connections to prior understanding and experience, and accentuates important information and how it relates to the learning goal. So this is probably one of the guidelines that's the most supported by this lesson, just because information processing and making meaning of that information through scaffolding and feedback is exactly what enhancement is. So this lesson definitely supports that guideline. Guideline 5 is expression and communication. So they gradually release scaffolds to support independent learning, share thoughts and ideas using tools, and express learning in a flexible way. So Schoology is definitely flexible. You can do so much with it. But you are also supporting independent learning because the students are completing these activities on their own, but they do have the freedom to share their thoughts and ideas as well. Guideline number 6 is executive functions, facilitate managing information and resources, and analyze growth over time and how to build from it. So enhancement is all about how to build and grow. And this lesson definitely supports that because the resources are allowing the students to have kind of stepping blocks to grow their learning. Guideline 7 is recruiting interest. So optimize individual choice, relevance, and value. I believe this lesson does that because the students do have a choice as which worksheet they want to start on first and where they think they're at with the material. But then it also creates relevance with the real life objects and gives them value because they know they're going to use it in real life. UDL Guideline 8 is effort and persistence, guiding learning by emphasizing the role of effort and process. Rise to high expectations using flexible tools and supports. So this lesson definitely does that because it is emphasizing effort. You can definitely give badges to those kids who are showing effort, and they're going to show progress because you are giving them the tools and the support to do it. UDL Guideline number 9 is self-regulation, facilitating personal coping skills and strategies, developing self-assessment and reflection, and promoting expectations and optimizing motivation. So like I said, I think the badges serve as good motivation, but I also think that self-assessment and reflection are done through the quizzes and tests, as well as they can learn to cope and develop different skills with the resources I gave them, such as the reference sheets. So what went well? I've never used Schoology before, but it is super easy to learn and how to use. It took me no time to get familiar with it. What I would do differently, some of the links and media I tried to post did not want to show up correctly or at all when I uploaded them. So you may have to mess around with Schoology for a little bit to see what format or what types of websites work well with Schoology. And then using the future classroom, I would definitely use Schoology in my future classroom. I love the wide variety of functions the tool offers. It's a great tool for any classroom, in any age group. It allows teachers to track and manage their students' learning, and students can use it to get extra practice or find additional resources if they feel that they need it. And that is the end of showcase number 3. Thank you.